Hello, my dear internet friends. Welcome and welcome back to another episode of Alissa and Jay's live stream. And in today's video, we are going to take a look at all these compact cameras. And since I'm presenting all the cameras over here, there is nothing like a second camera to show from a different angle. So this is what I will be using today to demonstrate everything. And we have been sent uh, from this brand, the newer brand, some of the products, and which we will be showcasing in the future videos. And these are like pretty cool products, actually. As you can see, this is anamorphic lens, and I'm very excited to make a lot of new videos using these lenses, cinematic videos. And yeah, it's a super exciting day for us yesterday, and yeah, the next few coming days. So let me keep it aside just to give you an idea about what you can expect in the channel henceforth. And yeah, let's start with the first compact, the full-fledged camera we have here. This is Fujifilm X106. This probably is a complete camera that you can expect. It is a APS-C camera. It is a completely functional and a hybrid photo and video camera. And this is something that you might want, and the only camera you might want for you for a very long time if you're starting out in photography or making content for your YouTube videos. And surprisingly, coming from Fujifilm X-T4, I'm happy to say that the autofocus in this camera, especially in videos, is increased tremendously, especially when I noticed the autofocus transition from the background to the foreground when it shifts focus from one subject to another. It's like super nice, and yeah, it is fantastic in my opinion. And also in today's video, I'll be showing a few things that I noticed when using these two cameras, the Sony A7C-R and the Sony A7C II. Just to differentiate, I got one in silver and one in black. And also I will talk about some of the accessories that I have here. And also before we move on to something else, I want to open up my DaVinci Resolve, and I want to show you some snippet of what I have been working on and what I noticed. And this is something, a precursor of what is coming up in the next video in our channel. Probably, most likely, it will be released today. So just have a look out for that as well. Let me open up my DaVinci Resolve. It's loading. It will take some time. And in meanwhile, I want to talk about this beautiful accessory. So this one is actually the small rig base plate with grip accessory for A7C2 or A7CR. This wooden part actually comes with the silver color base plate over here. And let me just quickly... Okay, the entire screen is blocked, but I can still see the display from my Pocket 3. Pocket 3 is what is filming me right now because I'm out of ports, and I hope the audio is also okay. And so here, the wooden piece actually comes with the A7CR's base grip. I swapped the silicone hand grip with the A7CR's wooden hand grip, and so I get this beautiful monochromatic black and wooden finish design or grip for my A7C II, and I have the silver version of silicone and silver, or black and silver version for my A7C II. I think this is gorgeous. Swapping this is the best thing that you can do between these two grips if you have both these cameras. So this is something fantastic, good looking, and also very functional. This grip allows me to feel or use this camera like I would use my Z6 II. I come from Z6 II as well. Like, I use a lot of mirrorless and DSLRs in the past, and I think having this kind of a grip allows you to carry the camera comfortably for a long period of time, which is super important. And let me see. Yeah, in the chat, Alissa has mentioned the sound is okay. Thank you, Alissa. All right, so now when it comes to this grip, there's literally no grip. Anybody who uses this camera would complain or feel like this doesn't have any grip. Fujifilm X106 is not made for just holding it like this for the entire day or so. It is made to be pocketed. It is made to be pocketed or just hang around in your neck. And that's why the design is super simple. And so making this weather sealed by attaching something like this in the front. This is from a brand called Nissi, and I have this in this diameter. Usually when these filter manufacturers or UV filter manufacturers, when they make this adapter, they make it downwards. So what happens is, like, if you are using the cap that is provided with the camera along with this lens, or the filter attachment in the front, it will not fit. But for Nissi, it fits perfectly, and I love it. So it is still very, very pocketable. Look at the lens element in the front. It is fantastic, in my opinion. This probably is the best camera. I'm really impressed with the image quality that we get out of it, with the noise performance. I will talk about noise in a bit. With the capabilities, the functionality that this camera offers to be more versatile in most situations, like the zooming capability for JPEGs, for the video, the inbuilt NT. I can go on and on with this camera. I mean, about this camera to you, but it will be a boring conversation. So definitely, if you talk about the high ISO noise, it is there. It is very aggressive, in my opinion. You can choose to reduce the noise reduction or turn it off altogether. But I think I would have some level of noise reduction just so that I can get the photos out directly out of this camera. But if you were to compare these two cameras, right? Let's say you have the A7C-R over here. This is a full frame compact camera, and we have the A7C, sorry, Fujifilm X106. They are very similar in size. If you look at the top plate, you can almost think that they're of the same thickness. It's so deceiving, but in reality, actually, the A7CR is a tad more wider or fatter than the A7C2. Of course, it's like full frame sensor. It's got a much better stabilization mechanism going on with the A7CR. But when it comes to the height, A7CR is actually much lower, much smaller than the Fujifilm X106. I'm trying to load up the DaVinci Resolve, but it's still not loading for some reason. Let me quickly turn it off and turn it back on so that I can explain to you the noise comparisons that I've been doing for some time now. Task, okay. So let it load on the site. I'll just click on it. You see, when we load up the DaVinci Resolve, my computer will slow down tremendously, and so we need to be really, really vigilant about it, that I don't get any blue screen error because of the processor power is not sufficient or something. So yeah, and also you can see it's super impressive how comparable they are. The only difference is the lens, right? So you don't have much compact lens options for the full frame. Right now, I have paired it with a 35mm f1.8 lens with the full frame camera, and the lens that we have is like 35mm full frame equivalent, but f3, which is still fine. But if you were to pair this Sony A7C-R with the 35mm f2.8, I think there is only one lens that exists today, and I think Viltrox is making a lot of compact lenses for these compact cameras, but I think they are still at this length. They are not too compact. Yes, of course, we have disposable lenses from Viltrox as well, but I think it ruins or it doesn't solve the purpose for the photography. Okay, so my DaVinci Resolve has loaded up, and I'm going to open up my recent project where I compare a lot of noise performance. Okay, let me show you my screen. Okay, before that, let's still continue talking about these two cameras before I move on to the noise performance between A7C2 and the A7CR. So when it comes to the sensors, this of course is the APS-C sensor. This is like a full frame 61 megapixel sensor versus the 40 megapixel sensor. Both can change the different aspect ratios. Both can change to different compressions. Both can change to different zoom-in capability, the cropping factor. But Fujifilm X106 has something very cool in their arsenal. So if you were to open this up, I'm sorry, excuse me for my throat. I had to clear it a lot. So what happens here is, like, the lens is super, super good. Like, even though this is like 35 millimeter, I can go up pretty close. It is actually in focus. The distance between the front element of the Fujifilm X106 and the A7CR is probably 6 inches, maybe 5 inches, and still it is in focus. So the close-up capability of the Fujifilm X106 is impeccable, but also it can go closer. As you can see here, I just turned the front ring on. Yeah, it still goes a lot closer, as you can see here, which is super good. So it basically can crop in to different focal lengths, that is from 35 millimeter to 50 millimeter and 75 millimeter. So it can crop into two other focal lengths, and that is something super good. So if you were to carry just one of these cameras, you will definitely will be able to achieve whatever you want, with limitations. Of course, this is not full-fledged, and the limitations are the one that you need to understand before you use it for your day-to-day experience. When it comes to the A7CR, you don't have any such options like you zoom in to crop, but you definitely have the APS-C crop. So basically, whatever lens you use, right? So whether it is like 35 millimeter equivalent or 20 millimeter equivalent, you can still crop in to 1.5 times and you can take some amazing photos. And if you're using JPEG photos, you can still crop in into 1.5%. So technically, it's like 2.25% crop ratio photos. So that's all without losing any resolution. You lose a fair bit of resolution, like 1.5 times and 2 times, whatnot, right? But you still retain majority of the image quality because these are like massive megapixel sensors. With great megapixels, with more megapixel comes more noise, and which is super evident when you use these cameras. And that's something that is off-putting if you don't know how to use these cameras. And I'm still learning. I haven't experienced so much megapixel cameras in the past. I started with 12 megapixels Nikon D90. That's a crop sensor camera, but a high-performing camera. Its autofocus was very good. And then I switched to Canon 500D or something, and slowly I upgraded my photography kit to Nikon D500, which was fantastic. And coming from all those cameras, small sensor cameras, D500 20 megapixel, I was able to achieve a lot of great photos, especially for wildlife. The video was good, the noise performance was fantastic. And from there to A6700, I was like mind blown with the crop sensor capability in terms of noise performance, and then switching to A7C2 gave me like mind blowing high ISO noise performance. So this camera A7C2, even at ISO 12,800, the noise performance is like amazing. The noise is very well controlled. And so after using this for a long time, like about 5 months, not switching exactly, using the A7CR is like I'm going back in days, like going back to my first DSLR with so much of noise, and always looking to reduce the noise, or how can I control the noise, or how can I shoot better. It's like a steep learning curve for me how to control the noise in A7CR. The noise reduction is pretty bad in this high megapixel camera, but it can be controlled with proper lighting and, of course, with the lens. So we don't see as much noise as the A7CR in the Fujifilm X106 though, because yeah, of course it's a crop sensor camera, but also the grain patterns in the Fujifilm X106 is super duper nice. So as you can see, there's one more point I need to mention here. So this mark here represents the sensor placement here. As you can see, it is pretty much back of the camera, and so the sensor is more or less very close to the rear side here. So if you were to shoot videos, this part will get very heated up pretty fast. But on the other hand, in both these compact cameras, that is the A7C2 or the A7CR, the sensor is somewhere to the front side. It's a little bit from the middle to the front side. So the lens is not as recessed as the Fujifilm X106. So the mount itself is coming forward, while in the Fujifilm X106, the lens start right after the camera, sorry, right after the sensor, which is like super impressive how they managed to stuff in the lens deep inside the camera, and they were able to achieve this compactness. And so, yeah, for an everyday travel camera, this is fantastic. But if you want to up your game a tiny bit, and if you want to start with your full frame high megapixel landscape photography, this A7CR is fantastic. I've been shooting and filming 4K 60 frames per second in this camera for quite some time now, since I got it last week. And for 5 days, I have been putting it through the paces. And what I found as the difference between A7C2 and the A7CR is what I'm going to talk next. All right, so let me switch up to the screen to my other screen. Let me do this. So this is actually the DaVinci Resolve Studio. And I have here this project consisting of all of the different formats. So let me bring this screen up here. Give me a moment. Okay, so this is the screen. If I were to do the other way, what happens is, yeah, I am not able to see what I'm showing, so which is very inconvenient. Now you're able to see the screen. Here, I want to show it this way. I'm not sure if this can be moved. Okay, so I have this noise checked. So when I say that I'm experiencing a lot of noise in the A7CR, I have to understand the limitations of how much it is introducing the noise and how I can mitigate the noise, right? So for videos, I played around and compare the video quality output from the A7CR with the A7C2 in the same formats and same frame rates. So there is a definite change or difference in the A7C2 between 24, 30, and 60 frames per second. So in A7C2, the 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second behaves more or less the same with impeccable noise performance. So there's literally no noise until 12,800. If you were to look at these, this area, I can explain. So basically, yeah, if I go here, this is A7C2, and this is pretty much, yeah, somewhere over here. So I think this is like ISO 1000 and 3200. So the noise performance between these two. Oh, before that, I have to mention both these cameras are dual gain sensors at base ISO 800 and 3200. So, but if you were to check the ISO levels, the noise levels at 3200, it's not exactly the same as ISO 800. It's actually ISO 1000 and 3200 are more similar, and which is surprising for me. It's like it's not exactly two stops gain. It's actually like 1/2 of the stop. And that's something interesting that I noticed. When it comes to A7CR, it's totally different. You can see the footage having a lot more noise. So it's, see, these are like very heavy files, and I'm not using the proxy editing, so it's going to take some time to load up the screen. So let me play it so it loads up. Okay, this is A7C2 still, and this is A7CR. You can instantly see the amount of noise it introduces, and it's a lot more noise at 3200. I have a side-by-side comparison here as well, so let me try to bring that up. And here you should be able to see. Yeah, so this is at ISO 4000, not 3200, ISO 4000. You are able to see the left side, A7CR. Of course, the internet is going to introduce a lot of compression. You will not be able to clearly see the difference. In the next video, I will place it in the full screen, so you will definitely able to understand how much A7C2 cleans up the noise compared to the A7CR. And the higher ISOs we go, the noise levels are tremendously high. And that's something I noticed, and which is like super evident over here. Let me show you. As you can see at 12,800, the noise level in the A7C II is very much usable compared to the A7CR. A7CR is completely unusable, and even with the noise reduction, it's super bad. But this is only in the case of 24 and 30 frames per second. We are able to achieve this noise-free performance in A7C II. If you were to switch to 60 frames per second, they are pretty much closer. Still, A7C II is bad, but they are pretty close. So this is the APS-C format in A7C II, and you can evidently see the noise and also the color shift. Let's talk about the color shift a bit later, but just observe the noise. A7C II is noisier than the full frame mode, but it's still a lot lesser than A7CR in both 60 and 24 frames per second. And one more thing you can notice is that the noise is probably one-third stop better in A7C II compared to A7CR in the 60 frames per second. And one more thing I noticed is actually when I introduce the noise reduction in both these footages, what happens is that the noise cleans up in A7CR, but which actually kind of reveals the pixel binning effect in the A7CR. So the noise reduction is going to consume a lot of power, CPU power, and this is the noise reduced footage. So you can clearly see the A7C II cleaned up, completely cleaned up at the ISO 12,800 when the noise reduction is introduced. See, it's already not playing. So when the noise reduction is introduced, the A7C II pretty much cleans up the footage. The noise reduction always, if you were to do it, it's going to, it's not going to play back at all. So here on the right side, we see it's completely clean. And on the left, A7CR, this is all the artifacts from pixel binning. So what happens is like the footage that we get from A7CR at 60 frames per second, it's always line skipped footage. It's not like the full sensor downsample footage, just so that we keep the temperature of this camera down. So these are the artifacts after we clean up the noise from the A7CR at 60 frames per second. Hey guys, anyone who is watching, if you have anything to say, if you want to know anything about these cameras, please let me know in the chat. I'm happy to answer. And that's why I'm having these one-on-one sessions every Sunday, so I get to connect with the community rather than me making just the videos and communicating with you guys in the comments. Anyway, so these are my finds. And this pattern of behavior of these two cameras is pretty consistent throughout all the formats, all the XAVC-HS, XAVC-SI, XAVC-S formats. And it's like 8 long minutes of all these comparison in different frame rates at the highest bit rates that's there. And in the next video, I'll be explaining all these things. And so you will be able to understand the differences. Also, this is where I compare. And if you ask me, okay, Jay, so now that we see that the noise performance in A7C II is better than A7CR, but how much better? Will I be able to quantify it? Of course not. I'm unable to quantify it by saying that in A7C II, it's like 3 stops better than A7CR in any given ISO. I'm unable to do that because, as you can see here, the noise levels in A7CR at 640 ISO is same as the 6400 in A7C II, which is like super duper good. But we have to understand that these two sensors are like dual gain ISOs, and at 3200, the A7C II did clean up the noise. So we can say that at 2000 ISO, it's same as the ISO 640 in A7CR. So technically you can quantify it, but I still find it very difficult to quantify how better the A7C II video noise performance at high ISOs is. This is again at 24 frames per second. If you move to at 60 frames per second, yeah, now we can definitely quantify it. So it's very close to 1000 and 2500. So it's like probably 1000, 1250, 1600 and 2000, 2500, like one third stop higher, better than the A7CR. So This 60 frames per second can be quantifiable, but when it comes to 30 or 24 frames per second, I find it very difficult to quantify. So this is something very interesting that I wanted to show for video, and probably the same for the photos. So right now when I'm using the A7C II, I'm going to the sub base levels of um, you know, filming. So basically I'm using ISOs 200 to 640 to get the least amount of noise with the A7C II, sorry, A7CR. And when it comes to A7C II, I don't care. Okay, even though the sub bass ISOs gives better performance in A7C II, I don't think I need to go that low. I can just start with ISO 800 and ISO 3200, and I can really get amazing footages from A7C II. So when it comes to videos, it's very difficult to clean up the noise in post. But when it comes to photos, on the other hand, it's pretty easy to clean up the noise, and your computer might not demand as much processing power to clean up the noise when it comes to A7CR. So that's something that I wanted to talk about. What about the real life use case, right? So without this grip, first of all, you need to buy a grip like this. Otherwise, for an entire day of shoot, you will find it very difficult to hand hold it for a long time. But the flip side is when you buy a grip like this, you can see the gap between my knuckle, this middle finger knuckle, and the lens. When you pair it with bigger lens like this, is very, very tiny. Most of the times it actually hits my hand, which is definitely something bad, I would say. So they could have shaved a tiny bit over here so that I can place my fingers without hitting my knuckle on the lens. But yeah, this is the downside of pairing the compact cameras with much bigger lenses. But if you were to pair it with smaller lenses like this, it is super duper comfortable. And this is how you might probably want to use your compact cameras. But you know what? I want both performance and the image performance and comfort when it comes to smaller cameras. So the next question is, why did I purchase just the compact cameras? Why can't I go for something like A7C4, sorry, A7 IV or something like that? The answer to that is I like to save on weight. I like weightlessness on any particular cameras and lenses. So I stick with the 16 to 35 millimeter f 2.8 G Master 2, which is like 550 grams. And also the camera itself is like 515 grams, which is like 1070 grams. And also with the base plate and such, it's going to increase another 100, 200 grams. So the complete package is less than 1500 grams. And when I include the 200 to 700 with this A7CR, it's going to be around 1.5 kilograms for that as well. So in total, it's less than 5 kgs that I need to carry around for my travel. And this I can hang anywhere. This is again 500 grams. This all, like including this, it's less than 5 kilograms, including my gimbal DJI RS4 Mini. So as a whole, I want to reduce my package to my comfort level. So the more weight I shave off and more I streamline my photography for the tools, it's going to be more effective in enjoying the nature while traveling instead of focusing on what gears I use. And also it's super good that both these cameras have the very same body so that I can interchangeably use them on my gimbal without much of adjustments. So these are the things I value more: the usability, the compactness, the weight savings, and the autofocus on these cameras are good enough for me to get whatever I want. Most of the time, I'm not into street photography. I'm more into landscapes, the lights and shadows, the evening time, the morning time, the golden hours, and very special occasions, sometimes even wildlife. So, even for the wildlife, I think these two cameras will be fantastic. If I'm going to pair it with the right lenses, definitely you can't shoot wildlife with these cameras. And the second thing I want to talk about, the another thing that I want to talk about is the internal stabilization. So IBIS. Sensor stabilization on all these cameras is bad, equally bad. Well, they're bad in different ways, but they are bad, unusable levels bad. But I have used the Fujifilm X106 on some of my videos in the past, and they seem to have been good. The autofocus transition paired with the stabilization, and at 60 frames per second footage, you can slow it down to have some amazing transitions. And the complete package is working well if you know how to use it. But when it comes to A7CR and the A7C2, the stabilization is like this all the time. The sensor is moving left and right. The 7-stop image stabilization is trying to compensate for the movements way harder than it should, and it's definitely not usable if you were to handhold it. But if you are okay with this shaky footage, you should definitely be okay, but I'm not. So that's why I purchased the DJI RS4 Mini, and I keep using it. That's it. So we still have like 30 more minutes, I guess, to talk about this. And yeah, one more thing I would have loved to have in these cameras is the internal ND filter like this. So this, uh, I love this camera for the internal ND filter, and let me show you a snippet on how effective and complete use case for this. So how do I put it? Okay, so here it's bright, right? So I just click on this button. I map this button for anti-filter. I find that, okay, so I still want to go with, okay, now it is in still image mode. Let me, yeah, now it is in still image mode. I'm going out. I want to use slow shutter. When I lower the shutter and I increase the aperture, and if the outside is still bright, let's say I lower everything. I lower the ISO to the minimum, ISO 64. I increase the aperture to 16, f11 probably, and I want to increase the shutter speed. Let's say outside is pretty bright all the time, and let's say I want 5-second shutter speed or 8-second shutter speed is still super bright. In those conditions, right, what would you want to do? You want the ND. Instead of putting in the back, just click one button. It engages the ND, make it more usable in more ways than you might have imagined. So this ND, internal ND, that need not be cleaned for any reason, that will not be touched accidentally when you're using it, is a time-saving feature for this camera. I mean, it's invaluable in my opinion. The same goes for the video as well. When you're moving from indoors to outdoors, this 4-stop ND that's inside this tiny beast is fantastic. So what do I think about these knobs? Do all these compact cameras need it? Is it necessary that these cameras have it? Actually, no, it shouldn't be the case. See, whenever I want to play with it, fiddle with it, it's okay. It's okay to have it. It probably might take you back to your old film days. But for me, it's like I use it in C mode for ISO so that I can change the ISO from the front dials over here. And I put the shutter speed in the T mode here so that I can control from the back, and I control the aperture from the front. But when it comes to the video, if you were to press the front button, it's gonna change between the it's gonna change between the aperture and ISO. So in that way you can use it. You cannot change the aperture and expect the aperture to change internally in the video mode in the Fujifilm X106. So those are some of the things that you might want to know. And yeah, this is a fantastic lens as well. It's super sharp, and I highly recommend if anyone would want to buy this Fujifilm X106. And this probably is the only thing you need to carry. And also when it comes to the battery life, it's super simple. It charges quick. It also holds up its charge pretty long compared to the Sony cameras. There is some downside to the Sony cameras, I would say. The Sony cameras tends to lose the charge if you were to just play around with the menu, and I don't like it, especially most people wouldn't like the charge to just keep on reducing when you are not even shooting or filming, and that's why we have the sleep modes. But Sony cameras reduces much faster than this Fujifilm X106, and I'm really happy with the battery life that it offers. And also, I don't have a second battery for this camera, and I'm super satisfied with this camera. But I have two separate batteries for Sony, one I got for free and one I paid with points. So technically, I did not pay for the batteries in both these cameras, but definitely it's worth having as much batteries as possible for the Sony cameras. And when it comes to the card slots, of course, I would have wanted it to be on the side, but yeah. Oh, one downside for this camera is actually the side doors. It's pretty loose. The Fujifilm X100 side door is pretty loose. I don't like it. It has some play. I'm not sure if it's audible, yeah. So the Fujifilm X106 side door has some play to it, which I dislike a lot, but actually the body is very dense. It's very nice to use. It's not too heavy to hold, and yeah, I like it. I quite like it. I like the silver color design. If if you ask me if I wanted it in black color, probably I would buy this Fujifilm X107 in black, but 6 is still very cool. What about the viewfinder? I don't know. I don't use the viewfinder as much as I thought I would use. I don't use viewfinders in any of these cameras. I don't think they are usable. In bright light days, in bright days, probably I might use the viewfinders. It is helpful, definitely, but I don't use it as much, so I have zero complaints about that. When it comes to time lapses, all these cameras takes fantastic time lapses, but when it comes to Sony's, we have support from DJI in both in terms of microphones and also the gimbals. They produce some amazing gimbals and microphones, and you have complete support in terms of software and connectivity in Bluetooth. And so these cameras perform much better if you want to use accessories. But of course, Fujifilm X106, you can beautify it with whatever accessory you want to. But in terms of the support from the third party, you have very limited support for this Fujifilm X106. So that's the other thing. And this probably might be the only setup you need if you want to just go around the town, shoot whatever you want, and probably you carry a drone, and that will pretty much be enough for your content creation. Probably you carry something like the Pocket 3 that is filming the setup right now, and you should be good to go, and probably take a GoPro or something. But I want to get much better quality photos when I travel without much of hassle. So I have the greatest two lenses, that are 16 to 35 f2.8 and the 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 G Master version 2s. And so I'm pretty content with what I have, under 5 kgs, including the tripod and gimbal. So this is the way to travel in the future, and the compactness is highly the way to go. And so if anybody has any questions, please put it up. No one is there. Anyway, no one is going to watch this video until this part of the video, so yeah. In the next video, you'll be getting all the different noise levels for the video between A7C2 and A7CR. And next video, you will be having the comparison between all these cameras and what I really think about this Fujifilm X106. And I think I can give you like 5-6 reasons why you should go for this instead of any of these. And I can also give 5 to 6 reasons why you should choose the other cameras versus the compared to the Fujifilm X106. So all these videos are going to come, and most likely you will be able to see some anamorphic content, some filmic cinematic content from using this anamorphic lens. So just stay tuned to the channel. Thanks for tuning in, for all the people who tuned in to watch this video, and meet you next time. And until then, this is Jay from Alissa and Jay signing off. Peace.